town. We've been friends for over 20 years, and we have heard each other's roller coaster of this world called life. So I want everyone to welcome my friend Erica. So welcome this morning, Erica.
Thank you. I am happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, Erica, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
I am here visiting from Texas. As you already said, we've been friends for over 20 years. I am married. I've been married for 13 years to my lovely husband. I have 2 children. My daughter is 8. My son is 5. And I also have a career in finance for over 15 years. That's me in a nutshell.
It is. And so I always Erica and I went to college together at Spelman. And so we always laugh because one of the things about being in college, we're all from so many different places. So I tease Erica a little bit about what state she likes to represent. So she always represents herself as a diehard Texas person. But I'm like, you lived in Arizona for a portion of your life. So I always call her out on it. So.
I did. I went to high school in Arizona.
But I tell everyone now, I'm like officially a Mississippian. I grew up, I don't know if I've ever shared this on the show, but I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. And then I went to medical school at South Alabama in Mobile, Alabama, where I met my husband. And then I came here to Mississippi and did my training and just loved it here and essentially made it home. And so now I've been here for 13 years. All 3 of my children I had here. So I think I'm officially a Mississippian. So we are hoping to make this morning kind of just a fun, lighthearted morning where we can just give out a lot of great advice, but we need help from listeners like you. So I want to remind everyone, please, to give us a call with your questions and comments at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464. So one thing that I see a lot in my clinic is, as I mentioned before, is really so many women feeling overwhelmed with life, working, trying to raise a family, trying to take care of yourself, trying to take care of loved ones. And the reason I'm like, this is a great topic because it causes a lot of anxiety in many of my patients, a lot of sleepless nights, like sleep difficulty, stress, which we know affect our bodies negatively. So I really kind of want to hopefully take a morning sharing advice and things that you've learned along the way. But anyone that listens to the show, I always love to give the whys I talk about things. So preparing for this show gave me the opportunity to just look up some statistics. So I looked at the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and it says that at this point, there are 74.6 million women in the civilian labor force. So almost 47% of U.S. workers are women, which is pretty different as we know over time. More than 39% of women work in occupations where women make up at least 3/4 of that workforce. Women own close to 10 million businesses. We also know that being a working mom is challenging. 70% of mothers with children under 18 participate in the labor force, with over 75% employed full-time. Mothers are the primary or sole earners for 40% of households with children under 18, and that's compared to 11% in 1960. So I say all that to say is so much has changed in many areas for women in general. We know now that women make up about 36% of lawyers, 37% of physicians, 60% of pharmacists are female. So very, very busy, challenging jobs, raising a family, whole 9 yards. So the question becomes, Erica, how do we do it?
I have to ask myself that every day. How do we keep doing it? But to be honest, just giving yourself a bit of grace as we navigate trying to find our balance in all that's going on. Like I said, I've been working for over 15 years and I have 2 children, and my husband and I don't have family close by. So it's a juggling act to make sure we're raising our family the way that we intend to. And it looks different for everybody. So just trying to find your own groove and your own balance in all that's going on.
And I like how you say that, because I feel like that always ends up being one of my big pieces of advice to many of my patients in clinic, is to understand that everybody's situation is very different. And I think the thing that a lot of us struggle with, not just at home, but at work, is comparing ourselves to everybody else. You like look at other people and you're like, man, they got this figured out. And like, I'm over here, like, feel like I'm drowning. Like, what am I doing? Like, I ask myself all the time, what am I doing wrong?
I often say that too, right?
And I laugh sometimes too, because my new thing has become, I'm like, they've got more hours in their day. That's the only thing that makes sense. Like, we're working on 2 different clocks, and like my clock is broken.
Right.
Is the only thing I can come up with. So that y'all wouldn't just hear all of just my opinion and Erica's opinion for an hour. We did both just solicit advice from our colleagues. So I sent out emails to several of my colleagues that I work at UMC. I text several friends, and I got lots of responses. And I know this is supposed to be Erica's vacation. And so I tasked Erica. I was like, okay, so you're coming on the show, so I need you to poll your friends as well. So we both have taken notes and everything from the emails and text messages that we've received. And so we're just going to talk about some of the best advice / maybe not great advice that some people have shared with us. But I still do want to hear from you guys. So make sure you're giving us a call at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464. So Erica, what is one of the things some of your friends shared with you?
I think one of the things that spoke to me the most was, we always have this question about whether you can have everything as a working parent. And I think the consensus for my circle is no. But to be very intentional with the things that are important to you. So when you measure out your priorities and what your children are working on, for instance, my daughter is a very busy swimmer. She's in a swim club. She's pretty good at it. She loves it. So making time for those things is important to my husband and I. My son, he's in pre-K, and he's learning and growing and developing. So those are the things that are important to me. So we make sure we make time for practice. We make time for academics, and we try to make time for each other. Work obviously takes a large part of my day. So with the remaining time that we have in our evenings and our weekends, just to be very intentional with the things that you want to do, and just decide for yourself, what does my family success look like? Whether that's swimming, whether that's academics, whether that's eating a meal together, whatever it is, and just place that at your priority list, and be okay with some of the things that don't get done. That may not be as high on your family's priority list, and it's okay.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Eric and I we talk about this a lot, sometimes on the phone, like when we're writing and venting, and it's and you get so bogged down, because many people, not everybody's type A, but a good portion, I feel can be type A personalities. So we beat ourselves up when that to-do list doesn't get done. Yeah. And as you talk about making things priority, we harp on all the things we didn't do on the to-do list versus all the things that we actually got done. I'm always oh my God, the list is growing because today's list is added to tomorrow's list. And it's you don't give yourself credit for how much of that to-do list happened that day. If you're a list person, there's something therapeutic about checking boxes to me. Even I just write it down and check it. I'm it's done. I did something. Yes. Whatever that looks like for you. So I think that's just an excellent kind of piece of advice. So I'm going to take it back a little bit to the early days of new mom. So when one of the things when I text my friends under her best advice is it's okay to sleep when the baby sleeps during the day if you need to, even if it's 11 a.m. and the house is a mess and the laundry's not
Absolutely.
done. It's okay. Everyone's just needs some time to take a break. Well, I laugh at that because I actually had somebody have that under the best advice, but also somebody else text me with the exact opposite, which can tell you how things are different for everyone. And so I had another friend that says the most worst advice that she got was to sleep when the baby sleeps, because she was if I sleep when the baby sleeps, when am I supposed to brush my teeth and take a shower and get all the other things done that need to be done. So it really just
Right.
depends. But again, it's understanding that what is your priority for that day or that amount of time. Well, I think this is a great spot for us to take our first break. So we'll continue our discussion on mom and work-life balances and tips that you've gotten throughout the years. So we'll continue our talk right after this timeout. So call us with your questions and comments that you have at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464.
Support comes from the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Southern Mississippi. OLLI offers classes, seminars, and socials, both in person and online, to help individuals continue in their love of learning. Registration ongoing. More at usm.edu/OLLI.
Are you working on a home, garden, or automotive project? Tune in to MPB Think Radio on Saturdays for encores of our do-it-yourself shows. Hear Pam and Jeff's home improvement tips and tricks on Fix It 101 at 9 a.m. Get gardening advice from Felder Rushing on Gestalt Gardener at 10 a.m. And jumpstart your automotive maintenance with Coach Charlie Melton on AutoCorrect at 11 a.m. That's Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon on MPB Think Radio.
This is MPB Think Radio, Mississippi Public Broadcasting. This is Southern Remedy for Women on MPB Think Radio. To call the show, dial 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 877-672-7464. Or email remedy@mpbonline.org. This is MPB Think Radio.
From MPB Think Radio, this is Southern Remedy Women's Health, where we discuss issues involving women's health. I'm Dr. Jasmine Kinsey, Assistant Professor of Internal Medicine at Pediatrics at UMMC. So if anybody is just hopping on the call, I decided to do a little bit different kind of show today, and I have got on with me today my best friend who is in town visiting for the weekend. Her name is Erica. She's visiting us from Texas, and I thought it would just be a great show just to share some great advice that you've gotten as a mom in general, and then just about mom and the work-life balance, because we know that women make up about 47% of the workforce today. And so what does that look like? What tips can we give each other for support? And so one of the things that we got from multiple people when we polled about advice was being okay with asking for help. And
Yes.
I think that's something that we all struggle with as women, because we want to do it all ourselves and we want it done right. And we feel the only way to make sure it's done right is if we do it ourselves versus just sometimes, asking for that help and what that may look like. And one thing we talk about a lot in medical school, and I feel like it's in life in general too, is about finding your tribe. You can't get through school. You can't get through certain things in life alone, and working and motherhood and those things you can't do alone. And so what everyone's tribe or community is another way looks different. So whether your community is your family members, whether your community is other moms that are helping each other out. And that's something I'm learning to be a little bit better about, is like my friends that have kids the similar ages. Like a good example is I worked this past weekend and I really wanted my son to go to a birthday party. And I just had to say to my friend, like, hey, can Trey ride with you guys to the birthday party? And she was so sweet. She's like, meet me at Target. Like, we're like exchanging kids in the Target parking lot so I can get to work and my son can get to the birthday party. So I'm so thankful for my tribe that includes my family, my in-laws, my friends, and And Erica mentioned earlier, like, it's just her and her husband as far as family wise where they are.
Yes, as far as family, it's just my husband and myself and my kids, and obviously my husband and I partner pretty well to try to get our, all our responsibilities done. But we have been really fortunate to find a very good community. Myself, I have a few women whose kids happen to be friends with my oldest, and we've really bonded through some of the activities. So similar to you, if I need someone to take my daughter to swim practice because I'm working late, one of the ladies will come by, grab her, take them to grab some Chick-fil-A after practice and drop them off. And I would do the same in turn. One of our ladies lives very close to me. We will let the kids play, and then we'll get to sit and talk and chat and just have some time. And we remind each other of volunteer activities, things going on at school, like it's Wear Red Day, all the things that may not sound that important, but to us as moms is important. And just to have that type of support outside of family it's been incredibly fortunate for me.
Yep. And also, as we talk about like finding help, the other thing that I got a lot of as far as like surviving, trying to balance this work-life balance is not just help in those aspects, but if you're capable of help with things around the house, if you are able to hire someone to clean or do laundry or, outsource the things that you can, if you're capable, or the yard work. Like I tease my husband all the time. I'm like, I know you can cut the yard. You are capable of managing our yard. You just don't have time. Like, I don't know how else to tell you this. It has nothing to do with so we need to get somebody to do the yard work so we're not getting all these notices that we're not up to. And so same thing for you. But it's also, so this becomes a whole nother debate about when are kids old enough to do chores. But, as I talk about help, like my kids are old enough now that like I'm trying to hopefully help them like with responsibility. Yes. So I've told my kids, like, we are team Kinsey. Like that is the thing in the house. And so like I will like announce things so we can all remind each other. It's like show and tell is tomorrow for Kylie. Y'all don't let us forget Kylie's toy for show and tell. And so like we're heading out the house and everybody's like, do we have Kylie's toy for show and tell? Like, like making it like where we're all learning to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say another thing is the whole mom guilt.
Yes.
So that makes it also hard to delegate and ask for help because you feel like it's your responsibility and only yours. And that's something we have to try to get away from, is that this is okay. It's normal. It's, what it takes to get things balanced nowadays.
I'm happy you brought that up because that's something that I personally have really struggled with the work-life balance. I was very fortunate that my mom had a pretty flexible job where she could, can't think of really much that my mom missed. Like she was like at every pancake breakfast. She was at every field trip, like everyone knew Jasmine's mom. Like she was like I was a cheerleader. She was like at every game in the stands, basketball, rain or shine. Yep. She was there. And like, I have a career in medicine and I have clinic during the times of a lot of field trips or breakfasts, and I don't get the 30-day notice that I need to like rearrange my schedule to make it happen. And so as I talk about your tribe and community, I've had to learn for it to be okay that it's not me sometimes. So if it's my husband that's available, it's him. There's times that it's been my mother-in-law that's had to go since I can't go, and like you beat yourself, but it's okay. The kids are, and even if there's nobody to go, sometimes kids are way more understanding than we realize. When I'm like, oh man, mommy can't go, and this person can't go, and my oldest is always so sweet. He's like, it's okay, mama.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that when we were in the car driving here. There'll be times that me and my husband aren't available to go, and we'll get pictures from our friends and family who are there, who are showing our kids happy and thriving. So yeah, it makes it easier to accept it's okay to find that balance for you.
So asking for help is fine. It's okay. And I try to remind my patients of that too, because it's really hard to take care of yourself when you're trying to do it all. It's okay to have some time for yourself.
Absolutely. That is another big topic when I solicited for feedback from my friends is having some time for yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot. And so actually that has become my homework for some of my patients. So in primary care, like I try to remind, like, you know, we're after we talk about like all their blood pressure medicines and all those things that we check up and their checkup. And even if we're talking about things, one of the common things for a lot of my patients for their lack of sleep or insomnia is all of the things that they're worried about and stressed about. And as you mentioned, like trying to pour for an empty cup, there's like no me time. So like I'll ask this question. I'll say, so when's the last time you did something for you?
Right.
You guys will not, I mean, you would be surprised the number of people that just don't do that. And I try to remind everyone, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Like it could just be like, I am going to go for a walk for 30 minutes just by myself, or, you know, I'm going to go. So I'm starting to laugh because I'll never forget. Like I tell everyone, I'm pretty sure that like my husband thought I was having an affair with Target because like that was like my me time. Like I would just be like, I'm going to Target.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I literally, but that was like that, like right after I had Trey, like my first one, my first one, like they were just like, I just needed like just 30 minutes to get out of the house. And I'm going to Target. Like I would literally go to Starbucks, get me a coffee, and I would just like walk up the aisles of Target, like sipping my coffee. And that was just, it was a moment to myself, time for me. So I tell everybody, it doesn't have to be like a huge trip or something like that. Just make sure that you're carving out time for yourself.
Yeah, because you have to remember we're working all day, and on top of that, coming home and trying to be, you know, mom and wife, or, you know, the different roles that we carry. And absolutely, it's hard to carry when you have no time for you and no time to just be yourself.
Yeah. But if you can, make sure if you can do some other things that are scheduled for yourself, that's fine to do as well. So as I say, I have my best friend on with me. So our new tradition, would this be year 3 or year 4?
I think this is going into our 4th year.
Our 4th year. So our like girls, our like yearly, no like non-negotiable girls trip is to Dallas for a weekend. Yep. And we go from Thursday to Monday. And I don't know, I guess who's listening. I'm a Cowboys fan, kind of by proxy, because my husband is like a massive Dallas Cowboys fan, and my best friend from Texas is a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. So we go to a Dallas Cowboys game every year. So we go hang out in Dallas. We pick a home game, and like we have our like restaurants lined up. Like this year we did a kickboxing class for, like, we try to find something like fun to do.
And different, yeah.
So now everyone knows, and even at work, they're like, sometime in the fall, Jasmine's going to this game, and so that's our thing.
Same.
One of my mentors, her and her friends have a yearly beach trip. We know that like they're like a group of moms, and they go. So finding you maybe that one time of the year that's kind of like that non-negotiable.
Absolutely, and it looks different. I mean, as you said earlier, we've been friends for over 20 years, and as we've gone through our phases in life, it's looked different. So I feel like, you know, we've been fortunate enough, our kids are old enough where we feel comfortable to go ahead and leave them for a little while. But, you know, each phase looks different too. So you have to think through what works for you right now may not work for you in 10 years. But whatever it is, well, the girls' trip is going to have to work for you for the next 10 years. But just in general.
No, I completely agree. So as we talk about, let's see what the next. So this was, I guess, kind of a funny, like, quick tip. So as I was asking people for like advice, so one of the things I got in the emails, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I always recommend to those expecting a new baby to write their baby's blood type in the baby book so that you have it for later use. This is not one of those things that people think about, but always ask about later in life. And I'm embarrassed to say I can't think of my kid's blood type. It's somewhere. So like somebody's A, somebody's B. I think 2 of them are B and 1 of them are A, but I can't confidently tell you. So it's actually good advice.
Very good advice. I remember being asked that maybe 2 days after I had my daughter what her blood type was, and I didn't know. So
jotting down and interestingly enough, no, it is not in common blood work. I'll get people like in clinic, they're like, do you have my blood type in my chart? And I'm like, it's not something that, unless you've like had a surgery and need to like get blood or receive blood or something like that, like usually it's not a part of your chart. Like it's not a part of routine blood work. If you donate blood, they will give you your blood type. But if you're not donate blood, like it's not just a normal test that we just run to see what people. So I thought that was like some funny advice. So like for new expecting moms, like just kind of jot that down in the baby book so you have access to it. Well, we're going to go ahead and take our next break, and we'll continue our discussion just about mom advice in general, and right after this timeout. So call us with your questions and comments that you have at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464.
What can you do with the MPB radio app? Listen live, hear local news, view the schedule, make a contribution, listen to shows on demand, and interact with social media. Get the app for your smartphone now.
Southern Remedy is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting Think Radio and is funded in part by a grant from the University of Mississippi Medical Center and by the generous support from you, our listeners.
I'm Peter O'Dowd. Our series Reverse Course wraps up a look at transportation climate solutions. Perhaps you could ask yourself some questions that might clean up the global supply chain.
How do I get this product that comes to me magically to my doorstep? Let's unpack that. Let's think a little bit about, is this a need or is this a want?
Next time on Here and Now.
Today at noon on MPB Think Radio.
This is MPB Think Radio, Mississippi Public Broadcasting. This is Southern Remedy for Women on MPB Think Radio. To call the show, dial 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 877-672-7464. Or email remedy@mpbonline.org. This is MPB Think Radio.
From MPB Think Radio, this is Southern Remedy, Women's Health, where we discuss issues involving women's health. I'm Dr. Jasmine Kinsey, Assistant Professor of Internal Medicine and Pediatrics at UMMC. And for those just hopping on to the call, I have my special guest, who is my best friend, who's here visiting from Texas. And the topic I chose this morning was talking about mom life and the work-life balance. And we have essentially just kind of polled our friends and colleagues on tips about how they've survived motherhood and working full-time. And I just felt like this is a really important topic because I feel like this is what so many people, when they're coming into clinic and I see them stressed and I see them losing a lot of sleep and just so much worry, and it's this balancing, trying to find what this balancing act looks like in general. And so we're going through advice. And so what was your next tip that you got from some people, Erica, that you polled?
So one of my friends stressed the importance of organization, which really is a time hack. I mean, that's the way to add a little bit more time to our day when we kind of prepare for what's coming. So laying out your kids' clothes for the week and doing ironing and meal planning for the week, or maybe if, taking a step further and making a few meals on Sunday night. Kind of planning ahead, making sure you have those things, grocery shopping, whatever organizational things you can do to kind of get stuff out of the way before you kind of go into a heavier period of being busy, definitely goes a long way, especially when you're trying to balance going to a full-time job and then coming home to, however many people you have in your home and trying to balance that.
And that's the question I get a lot, that people are like, how do you do that with 3 kids? And I'm like, you have to plan ahead.
Yes.
Like, and I actually, even though like I grew up as the only child, like my mom was just like a planner in general. Like we laid out clothes for the week. That's like what you did. Like my mom would like pick out what you're going to wear because I've got the iron on and this is the only time it's going on. So like, let's iron the clothes tonight and be done. And so that's how we survive our week. Like I literally like lay out clothes for all 3 kids for the week, have them ironed, and it's like mentally like organized by day. I need to be better about the meal planning, but I tell people that's really the big thing. It is hard, but it's a big thing to healthy eating.
Yes.
Because when you don't plan, that's when we're running out, grabbing fast food, ordering something, those types of things, as if you don't plan ahead.
Absolutely. You can fall into just kind of doing quick options that may not be the best for your family. But I kind of laugh when we were talking about picking out clothes because my son is now 5. He's getting to an age where he wants to make his own choices. So sometimes we'll pick out clothes for the week and then we get to, Wednesday or whatever the day and he doesn't want to wear it anymore. It's like, oh, okay.
Kylie's 5. We're going through the same thing. She'll wake up that morning. She's like, I don't want to wear this morning. And I've learned to pick my battles.
You have to call an audible. Yeah.
Well, look like we've got our first caller. So we've got Randy. Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. So tell us about your comments this morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm a first-time caller, but long-time listener. Really enjoy the show.
Thank you.
So my question is, how can husbands, boyfriends, and partners in general do their best to support their working moms in their life?
Thank you so much for this question, Randy. So I will I'll take it and then I'll get Erica's pick on this. So I think the best thing is communication, like communicating with each other what you all need. And I will say this, and Erica and I laugh about this all the time. Like sometimes as women in general, I'm not trying to say every woman, like this is personally.
Yeah.
There's this thing where I like you see that stack of laundry, you pass by it every day too. Do it. But my husband's like, if you ask me to do it, I'll do it. So I think the best way for you to support could be, and that looks different for every man or their relationship, is to sit down with your partner or whoever it may be and ask, how can I help? Or what can I help with? And you would get all glowing stars if you just kind of do those things without being asked. Like if you see something there and take care of it. But honestly, I think the best way to support a working mom or whoever it may be is to sit down and say, what can I help with?
I agree with that. As you let in, women are a large part of the workforce right now. And so a lot of these more traditional type roles need to be split. And communication is the only way to make sure that nothing gets dropped or one person feels like it's on them and not the other. I would say on top of communication, maybe encouragement, just being a reminder that everything doesn't have to be done by a certain time. Being a reminder that you are doing a good job. Sometimes we have to hear that. Like, we're doing great. Our family's great. We're healthy. We're in a great spot. We've met our goals. Just make sure we're constantly giving encouragement to our partners to make sure that we can have the motivation to continue.
Was that helpful, Randy?
Awesome. That was. Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your call. You have a great Friday.
All right, you too.
Okay. So I think that's perfect. Like Randy's question was perfect. And I think that's a great example. And I will say that has another part of the work-life balance that we haven't talked about is people in a relationship. Having that time for your family includes having your time for your partner as well. And so that is actually one of the next things on advice was take time for your partner or spouse. We don't always have time to do date nights, so we try to do a long weekend once a year or a longer trip once a year if we can. And once the kids are gone, we want to make sure that we, that we remember each other, that we don't forget who they are, who your person is. And so I think that's an excellent example. And so that's something we have tried to balance, in our relationship, that everyone thinks like date night is everyone's got to get dressed up and go out to a restaurant or something like that. Like we literally, like my husband and I are text and we'll be like wine on the patio, and I'll like do a thumbs up. And so we know like once the kids are in bed and all that kind of things, like, we'll go sit out on the patio and we'll watch a Netflix movie, or we'll catch up on, we will watch reality television. Like we'll catch up on the latest reality TV. So date night doesn't have to be this elaborate, like fancy, expensive restaurant. It can be, I've had like people talk about game night, like playing games with your spouse. Like y'all pull out the chess board and play chess, that quality time.
Agreed. I was going to say that when you were speaking to like the old Netflix and chill, because sometimes, you don't have the energy to like get up and drive somewhere again after you've driven to practice and to work and to school pickup and the meetings. And so, just, having the time to actually just talk with your partner about, well, at least for me, when I'm watching reality TV or Netflix or a movie, it's something that's unrelated to us. Let's just relax and talk through this. Let's laugh. All the things that, that helped you pick this person as your partner, just kind of reminding yourself of that as well.
Definitely. And as I say that, still don't forget that. And then the other things that are nice, like special gesture, like just like simple gestures can sometimes mean a lot. Like I really like calla lilies. So every now and then, like my husband will just buy some, and they'll like show up to the house, and the kids are like, what are these for? And it's like, just because, or like, I'm trying to think of like other examples outside of flowers, because not everybody's like a flower person, but just little things that kind of reminds that person that like that's what it was. Like I had a really like rough week one time in the hospital. And so like he found like these like words of affirmation, like little quote book, and like left it on the nightstand. And so as I'm like giving all these examples, I'm like, what was the last time I did? Just because. So any guys like Randy listening that want to chime in on some great ideas of just because for guys, let me know. Because it works both ways.
It should work both ways. Yeah. But I was thinking that too. My husband often will schedule like lunch dates, just finding the time. It doesn't have to be at a certain time either. It could be during the day. It could be in the morning, wherever it works for you and your partner and your family.
And that can be such a good time to decompress too. Like it kind of like takes your mind off of like all the other things that are going on. But I want to jump back before we were like talking about Randy. We were talking about organization, like really kind of helping you like not. So some other tips that fell under organization is I am really impressed by one of my colleagues that was saying the family calendar is a must. And she said, put it in a prominent spot in your home. Everybody has a different color, sticker, or marker for whatever their activities are. Go over it with them at the start of each week so everyone knows what's going on and is aware of the plans for the week.
That's a great idea. I think I'm the family calendar right now that I manage in my own phone and stuff. If we could all own it, that would be great. And that's a great way to do it.
I love it because, so as Erica was like walking down our house, she's like, oh, this is cool. You've got a calendar. And I'm pretty sure it has March circled on it. Like, I know it's not even April. Yeah. So like... So these are consistency also can be helpful as well in that process. But I really do like that idea because it does. And it also teaches kids responsibility too and ownership of the calendar.
Right.
A good color-coded calendar also kind of has the same feel as a checklist. Like you get to mark it off and the next day, finished a great day.
I love it. So that was her kind of like recommendation of getting your life organized and those types of things. But I think planning, like again, in clinic, when I'm talking to my patients about like exercising and healthy eating and all those things, that's a family thing. Like you don't have to, I have a lot of my female patients that are wanting to lose weight and wanting to eat healthier. And then they're like, well, what about my kids? It's like, well, let's do it together. Yes. Like it doesn't have to be a separate thing. And so kind of meal planning with the kids in mind and teaching them healthy eating habits and all that kind of
way.
It can
remember. Yep.
it can ultimately go both ways. Well, this is a great time kind of for our last break, and we'll continue our discussion, and we still have time for some more calls. So we'll continue our discussion about work-life balance right after this timeout. Call us with your questions and comments that you have at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464.
If you aren't near a radio, you can still listen to MPB Think Radio and MPB Music Radio. You can download the MPB Public Media app for your smartphone or listen online at mpbonline.org.
MPB local shows allow you to get your answers, give your perspective, help your fellow listeners. That's in addition to you hearing from our local experts about health, legal, financial, and home ownership concerns. Use the MPB Public Media app to talk to us. Use the app to listen to the podcasts you might have missed or just want to hear again. Local shows beginning with Mississippi Edition at 8:30 a.m. each weekday morning until noon on MPB Think Radio.
This is MPB Think Radio, Mississippi Public Broadcasting. This is Southern Remedy for Women on MPB Think Radio. To call the show, dial 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 877-672-7464. Or email remedy@mpbonline.org. This is MPB Think Radio.
From MPB Think Radio, this is Southern Remedy, Women's Health, where we discuss issues involving women's health. I'm Dr. Jasmine Kinsey, Assistant Professor of Internal Medicine and Pediatrics at UMMC. And for those that are just hopping on, we are talking about work-life balance and I've got my best friend here from Texas with me, Erica, and we have just kind of been sharing our thoughts and some thoughts that we've received from friends and colleagues, just on how do you do this thing called life, particularly as a mom in the workforce and what that looks like. But it looks like we've got another caller. So this is Sheena. Am I saying that correctly, Sheena?
Yes.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about your comment.
Good morning. How are you, Jasmine? First of all, you actually know me and my mother because you went to South. My mom was your assistant dean, Dr. Miles.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. How's Dr. Miles doing?
She is fine.
Awesome.
I just called her and I was like, I think this is your Jasmine on the radio, but I'm not sure because I'm on the radio here and I don't often get to listen.
Yes, ma'am. It is me. Tell her I said hello.
I will. But I was calling about your subject today and making sure that because I own a holistic and wellness spa here on the coast. And one of the things that people forget about is the fact that spontaneity works just fine. If you're sitting at your desk and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, the rest of the day needs to be canceled, it's okay to reschedule everything, move it to another day, and take the rest of that day to yourself. A lot of people don't think that spontaneity really works, but it does. Like, it's okay to actually think at that moment, I need a break, and I need to take it now.
I love it. That is a great one. And I will say that as one thing that motherhood has taught me is like you cannot control everything all the time and you just have to let go sometimes.
Yeah.
So I love that. Well, thank you so much for your comment, Tina.
You're very welcome. It was good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you as well. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, I really appreciate that comment from Sheena because I will say that was like the hardest part for me is like kids teach you how unpredictable things are. Like you wake up and you're like, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D. And then they wake up and something throws a wrench in it and you're like on D, A. C, B.
Right.
Like, you just have
B
to
fell
like,
off, right.
you have to completely regroup. So I think that is true too. Like just having some spontaneity, like, you know, just sometimes being able to just like put this down and be like, I just need a moment to myself.
I agree. Again, as we talk through this, we often put ourselves or our feelings on the back burner. And again, that's how you can potentially become burned out and have a lot of anxiety. It is okay to just say, you know what? Today is done. I'm going to start over tomorrow. Because if you kind of push through, sometimes it has the opposite effect than what you think is going to happen.
I completely agree. You just have those moments like, I just got to get past this. I just got to get past this.
Right.
If I could just get past this day. And then it's like this never ending thing.
Right.
And if you don't just take that time for yourself, you're really going to miss it.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good point. And it takes, I don't want to say courage, but sort of courage to do that because, yeah, it's goes against your instinct. But sometimes you need it. You need the break.
Yep. And we actually were talking about that. Like one of the other things that we seem to like get a lot of good feedback from moms is like being in the moment. We have such a hard time being in the moment because our minds, like I love the memes that are on like Facebook or online that it's like I have like 10 tabs open in my brain and where is the music coming from? Like that is like how your brain feels all the time. So as a result, like you're not in the moment. You're like sitting there playing with your kids, but then you're like, I got to do this. We got to get laundry done. I've got this. I've got that. And so like you're missing those moments. So I actually got several emails about that, like making sure that you're enjoying this time because you only get it. They're only this age once or whatever it may be.
I know we've heard this a lot, but yes, they say the days are long, but the years are short. So it will pass us by fairly quickly. And that is a comment I got from a couple of the friends that I talked to as well is kind of learn to compartmentalize. When you're at work, try to be at work. I'm saying this as if it's easy, but it's, you know, we all know it's
hard.
It's
yeah, it's very hard.
But when you're at work, be at work. When you're home, be at home. When you're watching your kids at the school play, be there watching your kid be in the school play. It's so important to be present throughout what you're doing so that all your time isn't passing you by.
And they're observant.
Yes.
Like they're like, if you are sitting there, like you think you're checking an email real quick and no one's noticing, like they're just like, Mom, you're always on your phone.
Right.
And so like when my kids said that, like that was a like wake up call to me, like put your phone down.
Put your phone by the door when you walk in and at least have, you know, that 30 minutes or if it's dinner time, whatever the time is that you block off for being home, you know, be there.
And looks like we've got time for our last caller. So we've got Roger. Good morning, Roger. How are you?
Oh, I'm well. Thank you for your program. I'm one of your many loyal listeners.
Thank you.
And I want to remind you and your listeners of Finnegan's Law. Finnegan's Law says everything you intend takes longer than you intended.
I like that.
I like it. I feel like that's the story of my life right now. Yes.
Y'all keep smiling. Keep smiling.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one, Roger. And thank you so much for listening. Yep. But so it really is like it's so much of these things where we talk about like it's so much easier said than done. So if I kind of had to wrap up a lot of the advice that we got, like one of my favorite things that I feel like applies to not just this, but I use it a lot with my patients that are trying to do some healthy eating or exercise or weight loss. But I feel like this is also true for the work-life balance as well. I tell my patients, I want progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Because we live in this world where we're constantly trying to like make it like perfect and you can drive yourself crazy. So I tell everyone like if it was a bad day, like get back up and keep trying, you know, as long as we're like moving in the right direction. Like that's what I want, the effort. We tell that to our kids. I just want you to do your best, right. But we don't follow that same
Show them you doing
advice.
The same thing. Right.
At all. And then, so what would you say your biggest take home is?
I think my biggest take home is just don't compare yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Drive in your own lane, swim in your own lane for Emily, the swimmer. And just know that it's okay wherever your progress is, wherever you are in life, what works for your family that doesn't work for others, it's okay. Just swim in your lane.
I completely agree. And so as I was like trying to figure out like how to wrap up some things, and I actually forgot one of our other coworkers here at the studio actually brought up a great point. And I forgot because now I look at it at the bottom of my bullet point is don't forget that sense of self. You reach this point where you're like, I'm Trey Elijah Kylie's mom, or I am
Emily
Dr. Kinsey.
Right.
I am Fred's wife. I get that a lot. My husband's a social butterfly. And so it's like, oh, I know you. And it's like, oh, I saw you on the Facebook page with him. So it's like you reach this point, like, so don't forget. And I think that kind of goes all in the, like making sure you're making time for yourself,
yes.
but also try not to make your identity those things. Like, don't forget your own hobbies. What other things that you do? I'm still looking for a hobby if someone can help me figure that out, because my current hobby is shopping and I need a less expensive one.
Right. And I don't want to get dragged to the mall again.
I know. So that's the whole, like, my friend, like, she keeps saying, like, I think you're secretly trying to take me to the mall. She hates shopping and I love shopping. How this friendship has worked, I don't know. But she was just like, I feel like at some point I'm going to be taken to the mall. But anyway, long story short, like, don't forget, like, to take care of yourself. In this whole, like, work-life balance thing, don't forget to take care of yourself. It's okay if you can't get it all done in a day. Okay. Don't forget to ask for help and get support, and whatever that may look like. Thank you so much, Erica, for coming to hang out with me today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Southern Remedy Women's Health. It's a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting Think Radio and is funded in part by a grant from the University of Mississippi Medical Center and generous support from listeners like you. Today's show was engineered by Marissa Vaughn. I'm Dr. Jasmine Kinsey. Join us next Friday at 11 for Southern Remedy Women's Health, and stay tuned to NPR's Here and Now, coming up next on MPB Think Radio.
This forecast